Hey, what's up, Grace family? It is the week of October 11th, and I want to welcome you to the Weekly. This week, we're going to talk about what I talked about on Sunday, is how we can meet the spiritual needs of others, or can we? This is what we're going to talk about today. All right, guys, so on Sunday, we looked at the story in John 4. It's a really popular story. A lot of you have heard it before. It's about the Samaritan woman that Jesus meets at the well. And so today, whether you're alone, you're with one person, or maybe you're with your Connect group or a small group, I want you to pause and I want you to read the story. But when you read the story, and this is what I want you to do, I want you to read from verses 1 to 45. So the whole thing, and sit together and really be reading it together. Maybe take turns of who's reading which part. But as you do, I want you to pay attention to something. I want you to pay attention to the perspective of the Samaritan woman. Now remember what I talked about on Sunday, and I'll elaborate a little bit right here, but the Samaritan woman, you have to realize that she has a checkered past, right? She has a fairly bad reputation in the town because she has sought to fill her needs with men, and her craving for love and intimacy and safety and all those things that you and I all crave and have that need inside of us, she has met with men, which Jesus points out, and you're going to read this again in a moment. So there's all these controversial lines and cultural lines that Jesus crosses by speaking to her even. Remember, he is the new Jewish rabbi on the scene and throughout the region, and she is a Samaritan woman. By the cultural standards alone, he should not be even speaking to this woman, let alone in public, let alone her being out alone, going to the well during that time of day. There are so many areas and cultural lines that Jesus is crossing to meet this woman and love her right where she's at. So from her perspective, a social outcast, has a bad reputation in town. People look at her and they want to stay away from her. From her perspective, read verses 1 through 45 in John chapter 4. Read that now, and we'll be right back. Okay, welcome back, guys. So what you just read and what we see happening in this story, we see happening in a lot of other testimonies and encounters of Jesus throughout the Gospels. And this one is a very powerful and significant one. But here's what we see happening. Jesus constantly seeks the outcast. He seeks the broken. You say, gosh, at Grace, you guys talk about brokenness a lot. Yes, we do. It's intentional. It's true. But here's 3 things I want you to see about that. The reason we do this is because of these 3 things. Brokenness is a place where Jesus meets us, right? He did that with this woman. He met her in her brokenness. He brought up the issues of her life, and he met her right there and loved her at that moment. The second thing is that it's through brokenness that Jesus transforms us. So he meets us there, and through our brokenness, he meets our needs and he transforms us. That's him fulfilling the spiritual need of the Samaritan woman, or you and I. And then thirdly, it's the healing of our brokenness where he uses us. So he used her brokenness to change her. He met her there, he transformed her there, and then he uses it to go out and tell people about him. And so here's some of the takeaways that we had on Sunday that I want you guys to discuss right now, or if you're alone, you can write this down or pray and think through this. Is the first major point and encouragement I made is, who are you sharing your story with? Right? Just like the Samaritan woman, she went and shared and said, I met a man who knew everything about me, right? He knew everything. He is the Messiah, and they all came to see who he was. Same is for you. What part of your story, what part of your testimony did God show up? Did he meet you where you're at? Did he transform you? And how can he use you by sharing that story? Who specifically in your life do you need to share that story with? Discuss that amongst yourselves or with a friend. Who and what part of your story would you tell? And then the other 2 takeaways is, as you invite others into your story and to meet Jesus through your story, make sure you invite them, but don't decide for them. They may not agree. It may just mean you're planting a seed at this moment. That is totally okay. Take the pressure off. Your job is not to save them, that's Jesus' job. But your job is to invite them into how Jesus met your need and loved you and transformed you and healed you, and invite them. Don't decide for them. And then thirdly, and this ties right together with what I just said, it's not about the result, you guys. Like, the outcome is not your responsibility, that is God's. You may just be a seed that's planting now, that in 5 years or 2 years or 10 years or 15 years that Jesus transforms this person, but you are part of that process. So that's my encouragement to you. Those are my questions to you. Discuss this. Discuss your story. Who are you going to share that with? And may you impact people more than you'd ever see, know, or think.